And welcome to a post-match reaction to Japan versus Ireland. And OMG, wow, what has just happened? What has just happened is that Japan has beaten Ireland 19-12 and really has put the cat amongst pigeons for this for the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, it's the joy of sport, right? When the underdog wins, everybody roots, everybody borrowing the Irish, of course, and possibly a whole lot of All Black fans as the penny slowly dropped in the final minutes that if Japan beat Scotland, which on their current form looks really possible, that could possibly mean a quarterfinal for the All Blacks being the Irish. But
Well, before we get into the implications of this game,
yes, but
we
what
should
I'm
really
saying
actually
is
enjoy the game for a second.
Yes. Anyway, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. The point being that barring the Irish, everybody was rooting for the underdog, right?
Absolutely. And before we even get into the game, I mean, what an amazing result. Yes, thank you everyone who's joining in the live chat. Yes, what a result. Make Japan the world champions. No, not quite. But the crowd, the stadium, the atmosphere was fantastic, wasn't it?
Awesome. I mean, we just got off the broadcast now, and it's probably 15 to 20 minutes after the game is over, and nobody has left. They're just standing and cheering, and rightly so. I mean, they deserve to. They obviously booked their tickets. It was a sellout crowd. It's packed to the rafters, dressed in their colours, singing and cheering, lifting their team. You heard the captain say that the last 10 minutes, the Japanese captain, the last 10 minutes, how much they could hear the crowd and how they lifted them. And this is their moment. And it's just everything about why we play sports is that if you train hard enough, and they were clearly superbly fit, the Japanese.
Yep.
And what's really encouraging as well is they play a great brand of rugby.
They do play a great brand of rugby. And one of the things we saw during this game was how well connected, how well these players are used to playing with each other. And you got to say, Jamie Joseph, sure, you pulled them out of Super Rugby. Sunwolves didn't really have a great season because of the long training camp he had, but he's had them together. The behind the back passes, the no look passes. There's always somebody there, and that's because they've trained so much together, they've played so much together. The cohesion in that team was fantastic tonight. Now, before we get on to singing too many phrases, though, let's actually just go through what happened early on. Ireland looked to be in control. They went down into the Japanese half. They would get themselves a penalty advantage, put in a kick and score a try. And that happened twice. A cross-field kick where the Japanese winger, to be honest, was all at sea. He didn't really contest the ball. He didn't try to tackle the player. He'd got it all wrong. And then we had another one of those. And suddenly Japan, after 21 minutes, were up 3-12 with Carty pulling the strings, a player who we wasn't even supposed to be at this Rugby World Cup, really. We never expected him to start the game. But due to injuries, he's there. And it all was looking quite uncomfortable for Ireland at that point.
Yeah, it was. They just seemed to have the ability, once they got into the red zone, of converting. And they seemed to have the wool over the Japanese, especially with those cross-field kicks. But it's saying that, the Japanese were, even at that stage, showing the signs of being able to string together long periods of possession. And I remember I pointed out to you at this stage that every time they took the ball through their hands, they made meters. And they managed to penetrate into the back line of Ireland by going wide, right? Which is a worrying sign if you're a coach.
It is, but we've seen this happen to Ireland before with teams like Scotland. When Scotland shifted wide, they could in Six Nations games. We've seen them Ireland defend narrowly, and if you can get outside the rush defence like Japan were doing, you can really you can gain some meters, and Japan did that really well. Now in the first half, that just brought them 3 penalties. They missed one. I can't remember if they missed 1 or 2 in the first half. But they missed 2 in the end, I think. So that suddenly made so it was 9-12 at half time. We're thinking, oh yeah, it's a nice contest. They're in this, but yeah, they're not really going to actually go any further. It's just going to be just a nice contest. One player that we did lose at that point was Maffey to a rib injury, and in some ways that might have been. I mean, yes, he's a very good player and he was doing well, but Leach came on and played a blinder.
Oh my word, he was magnificent. I know the Japanese hooker got man of the match, and he was outstanding. But Leach coming on with 50 minutes to go, there was just such calmness, and at the same time so much penetration in everything that he did. But he certainly brought an air of calm to the team. So even as their tails were lifted in that last 30 minutes, and as the tide turned, as Murray Mexted would say, the tide of psychic energy turned, and they just got lifted. They never seemed to be frantic, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with Leach's presence and on-field leadership. You know, I think I made the comment to you as he was playing that's the blindside flanker that New Zealand's been looking for the last 2 years. He's just playing in the wrong team.
Oh well, yes. An aging soldier who's yes, twilight of his career, doing fantastically. Let's be honest. A few sort of tactical things happening here. Both sides double up tackling in this one, which was interesting. Japan doing it to stop Ireland getting over the gain line, whereas Ireland were doing it to try and choke tackle and hold the player up, which they succeeded in the first half. But Japan changed things up, avoided those situations, and didn't get caught out with that in the second half. So good to them to change up their tactics and where they were attacking in those sort of things. And then in the second half, wow, they get Japan got a scrum in the 22, bashed it up again, then spun it wide, some wonderful hands, missed pass, and then a quick hands to put the winger in the corner, and they were in the lead, and suddenly it was like, wow, this is really, really on.
Yeah, and you got the sense as well, not only were they ahead on the scoreboard, but they were ahead in the game. Now, that might sound counterintuitive, but you didn't get the sense that Ireland were about to score.
Yep.
You didn't get the sense that Ireland were easily able anymore to penetrate that 22, the Japanese 22. And there was periods after they went into the lead where Ireland had long stretches of possession, and attacked through the hands in multiple phases, but they never really seemed to cross the 22, right? And what happened as a result is that the confidence just grew and grew and grew, and you could see it in that Japanese team. You could see the belief.
Absolutely, and making that conversion was crucial because that made it a 4-point lead rather than 3, which meant that the Ireland couldn't be just get a drop goal or a penalty to even things up. 4 point rather than 2. Sorry, they couldn't get a penalty or a drop goal to take the lead back. They had to go for the try, and that also assisted Japan in the way they defended. They then got another penalty on with just 9 minutes to go to make it a 7-point lead, and suddenly it's like we're 7 points out. 9 minutes to go. Ireland's best chance is a draw here. I can't see them winning at that point. I mean, on the hour mark when they'd scored that try, that's when I started scrambling with my notes, getting the computer ready, getting everything ready to do this show. Yeah. It's kind of like, okay, this is a game we have to talk about. But it took me until the hour mark before I really believed.
Yes.
But clearly Japan did believe before that, and one of the things you were saying the whole way through was this Japan team is not going to run out of steam. They're going to play right to the end, and they did.
Yeah, they are superbly fit, and that's a combination of their Kiwi coaches, who demand nothing less, but also the Japanese culture of hard work pays, right? Yep. And so you knew they were never going to be shirking on the hard work they put in. But maybe it's also worth pointing out something that you said to me that I didn't realize about all the hard work that they've put in during the Super Rugby season, and how that affected. Maybe you can mention how that affected the performance of the Sunwolves, and now we're seeing the fruit of it.
Yeah, I mean, the entire squad were kept out. I think it was the first 6 rounds of Super Rugby, and Jamie Joseph only drip fed maybe 4 or 5 players back into that Sunwolves squad. Now the Sunwolves didn't perform very well, but didn't perform that well. A lot of comments were about the fact they were a foreign legion, and they were, because the Japanese squad was away preparing really for this game. I mean, we saw them against Russia, and we were all a bit worried. We're kind of like, okay, they didn't perform that well against Russia, but it was very much a stage fright rather than their bad players playing at their best. It was kind of like,
nerves.
Wow.
It was nerves.
Yeah,
right?
Nerves. The too much adrenaline, too much nerves, that first game at home in front of the home crowd, and they've settled down. There was no stage fright in this one. There were no nerves in this game. They were in the right place for this game, and Jamie Joseph has spent the last 12 months heading toward since he's been Japan coach really, but really in the last 12 months down to just for this game. Before that was building depth, building the squad, but it's massive. A couple of comments about Ireland being number one. Now Ireland number two at the moment, and they'll drop to number three even on Monday, even before this result. They might even drop further now. But still, they are a very, very good side. And a lot of people are saying, okay, which games can be upsets in this Rugby World Cup? This wasn't one that I pulled out. I pulled out Japan versus Scotland as definitely one because of the way that the games were back to back and close. This has not been a short turnaround for Ireland. It's been a couple of days less than for Japan, sure, but it's not been like a 4-day turnaround like we've seen with some games. And you'd expect Ireland to have the depth to deal with this. Any final comments before I dive into stats?
There are a couple of very good comments that are coming through here about being able to deal with the heat. And Japan certainly seemed equipped to be able to deal with the heat. And let's commend them, and let's not move away from the fact that Japan play rugby like we would hope rugby should be played.
Yes.
Right? So they don't play a game that is based on let's minimize our chances of being embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
They play a game which is maximizing their chances to win. So they don't play with a fear of defeat. They play with a drive to win.
Yep. Right?
And that is to be highly commended. And if you consider that 1995, Japan were beaten 145-0 by the All Blacks. And it is 24 years later, and they've beaten Ireland.
Yep.
And 4 years before that, they beat South Africa. And they are probably odds-on favourite to beat Scotland and top their group.
That's going to be a different feeling for them. They're going to be favourites going into the Scotland game.
Yes.
Wow.
Think about that. They're probably going to be favoured by the bookies to beat the Scottish. And, and if you think about just what they have done, then, you've got to take hats off to the awarding of this World Cup to Japan. You've got to give credit to Jamie Joseph and the whole Japanese Union, who were prepared to take players out of Super Rugby and prepare them and allow them to gel. It's just an all-round great, good news story.
Now, a lot of chat in here around discipline for this Japanese side. And look, there are two things here that we've associated with Irish teams heading up towards this, that we've seen from Irish teams when they've beaten New Zealand, that basically Japan have done. One of those is discipline. Japan gave up 6 penalties to this game, none of them kickable. Or if they were early enough in the game that Ireland thought they could kick to the corner and
yes.
do.
Yes,
and
there
go
was
for that.
at least one incident where I saw that.
Yeah. Whereas Ireland gave up 9 penalties. When they've beaten New Zealand, they've given up less than 5. So clearly, Japan put Ireland under a bunch of pressure that even the All Blacks haven't done. Okay,
they keep the ball.
They keep the ball. Yeah.
They keep the ball. They don't. If you think about it, I can't remember a box kick from their halfback scrum half.
There were a couple out of their 22, just as relief as exits.
Yes, no, but
I
say attacking box kick, when they're outside of their 22, between the two 22s, I can't remember a box kick from there. I'm not talking about a clearing kick.
Yep.
I'm talking a box kick for the wing to chase.
Yep.
Right? I can't remember one of them.
True. Comment there
There's
about
a chip over, yes, maybe because
Yep.
he saw there's nobody back, so he put it in the space. But that wasn't in none of these high contestable kicks. They were prepared to keep the ball and keep coming at the Irish and keep coming at the Irish and keep coming at them.
Right. There's a comment in there about Japan leading the way to be the next Tier 1 nation. Right. Everybody go on Twitter, tweet to New Zealand Rugby, South African Rugby and World Rugby and tell them that Japan needs to be in the Rugby Championship because that's where they need to be, and hopefully this is the current result that will drive them getting there. The second thing that Japan...
Absolutely. By the way, agree 100%.
The second thing that Japan did that was very much reminiscent of how Ireland have beaten teams like the All Blacks, it has been around the tackling. 92% tackling. They just didn't miss, whereas 86 from Ireland, that is respectable, but missing 20 tackles is quite a lot, whereas Japan just missed the 13. So that gives you an idea. But apart from that, this was the stats were very even on this one. Around territory possession, around the number of turnovers given up, which shows that the Japan were very competitive. Full stop. In this game, there was no flukes. Now, a few players that need to be called out. One that you was saying, Paul, what's his name? The winger, Matsushima. You were impressed by him.
Oh, he's really good. Look, he was at fault, especially with the first Irish try, where he turned his back. He didn't contest. He didn't wait for him to land, drive the centre over the side of the touchline. So there's some work that needs to be done on his defence. Although he tracked back, he recovered a situation that was very dodgy in front of his try line. Brilliant play. So yeah, there's stuff to be worked on, but he's a tremendous wing with tremendous potential. Leach, as we mentioned, magnificent. Let me just say this as well. They weren't put under pressure in the set pieces, which is where everybody thought, especially after the Springboks played them and put their scrum and their line out under such pressure. We thought that's where Ireland would come at them, but they didn't. And I don't know if that's a sign of a potential weakness in the Irish team, or whether it's not just some tremendously hard work put in, but by the Japanese team. But their lineouts were solid. Ireland even lost a few lineouts.
Yep.
They monstered the Irish scrum in at least one instance, which was incredible. It was really surprising. So they had the basic fundamentals down of their primary possession, and then they played this ball in hand, prepared to attack rugby. So there's just so much to commend the Japanese on.
Now, some of the tackle stats tell a story here as well. Ireland played pretty narrow, and you can see that because Thompson, the lock, 19 tackles, Moore, the lock, 23 tackles. The open side flanker, the captain, sorry, I can't pronounce his name. It's an African name.
Labuskachny.
Yes, that one.
That one.
18 tackles. You've then got which shows you that a lot of traffic down that narrow side, and they try to bully them. Compare that to the top tackler for Ireland, or equal top tackler, was Farrell, the centre. It shows that Japan moved it out and went in.
Out of channels, yeah.
Out of channels. So that gives you an idea as to the different dynamics of how these sides were tackling. Sure, there were still a lot of tackles by Ryan and by De Vlier, but let's say Farrell had as many tackles as they did. It shows you that difference there.
By the way, credit to the Japanese coaching staff, because playing in the Six Nations, how many times do you think Ireland see a team attacking them in the outer centre channel?
Yep.
Yes, that's not coming at them from Wales or England, right?
Yep. So congratulations to them. One sort of interesting stat that I'm going to call out just purely because it's fun. Fukuoka led the 23 for Japan, led the thing for run meters with 80 meters, but I think that was probably on his last break at the end there where he got 5 meters short.
Rcredit to Earls for tracking back, by the way.
Oh yes, absolutely. But that's so that one break gave him not quite, gave him the top run meters. What we should then look at is how does this leave things then looking forwards. Japan now top the group on 9 points. They've got 1 bonus point. Ireland second on 6 points. Samoa have got 5 points. Russia, they've only played 1 game and got 5 points. So remember, Samoa are definitely not out of this, and are going to be a dark horse that everyone's going to kind of semi-ignore in the aftermath of this. Russia obviously 0 points, and Scotland also on 0 points. So if things pan out as we kind of semi-expect them to, or as favourites, then Japan will top, Ireland second, which means Japan meeting South Africa and Ireland meeting New Zealand. Wow, that's not really the reward New Zealand's looking for by beating the Springboks in the opening game. And also lines Ireland up for another wonderful quarter-final exit, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, it does. It does. But look, You are in this situation. They are the architect of their own demise. They did not play well today. I mean, but let's just be careful here. They weren't rubbish.
No.
Right. We're not saying that Japan won this game because Scotland were puerile. That's not the point.
Ireland.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Ireland were puerile. It's not because Ireland were puerile. Japan played tremendous rugby, deserved to win. But Ireland just didn't match up today.
No.
Right? They didn't match up in the physical confrontation, which you expected them to. They didn't pressure at set piece, which you expected them to. And they, right at the end where they needed to, they were up against their own line. They got the ball back and they needed to go the length of the field. They didn't have the wherewithal to take on that task, right? They took too long to set that last scrum. Yep. They should have been pushing for time, right?
Oh, and
sorry. They kicked the ball out in the last possession. Okay,
I can't believe we spent 20 minutes. We're not even talking about Carty kicking the ball out on the full. That clearance kick was stupid. He had advantage, so he could just drop the ball and take a scrum. Right? They had a scrum advantage. They would have to reset that scrum because the gong had already because it happened before the gong, so they would still have had that. But they decided to kick it out instead. That was very dumb by him. A few other things we just need to be careful of, though. First off here.
Sorry, I'm just laughing. Somebody posted, you don't even look like you ever played rugby. Well, unfortunately, if I show you my shins, if I show you all the knobblies on my shins,
I used to be a hooker.
And I played open side flank, and I played 2 years ago the World Masters Games here in Auckland. Including against some 150 odd kilogram Samoan internationals.
So there we go.
Well, I'm glad that my face makes me look like I don't play rugby because
anyway,
Jamie Joseph's nose is a side. That nose, my golly.
We're talking about the game. Wow. So, a couple of things here. We shouldn't get ahead of ourselves because Scotland could beat Japan, at which point Japan, Ireland, Scotland could all have the same number of points, and it could all look really really kind of strange. Arsham, by the way, you've got moderator access. Just ban the person. Samoa also, they've got to win. They haven't lost yet. They can still upset in here. This is no foregone conclusion that Japan are going to get out of this group yet. It's just a fantastic result today.
No, it's not.
And there's a long way to go.
I mean, Scotland are going to take great heart from this, right? Scotland may have lost to Ireland, but this loss by Ireland puts them right back in the frame.
Yep.
If Scotland win all their remaining games, including beating Japan, they've got every chance of going through.
Yep. They could top the group still.
Yes. So the only team that really is almost without price is Russia, who have lost 2 games. Right.
Yep.
This is this is going to be a very interesting pool.
And this is the kind of thing we've been crying out for.
Absolutely.
In at the Rugby World Cup, let's be honest. Because all the other pools, the England, France, Argentina pool is shows up for grabs. They're all tier 1 teams. All the rest, though, are the 2 that are going through essentially. Mm-hmm. So this is fantastic. It's exactly what the Rugby World Cup needs. And well done, Japan. Well done for hosting what has been a great Rugby World Cup so far. And we started off the opening weekend with lots of really interesting games, but predictable results. This last 3 days, with Uruguay beating Fiji, with Japan beating Ireland, the rule book's gone out the window. It's all fun and games. And as someone I think said earlier, they've got to go because Namibia might be South Africa. That would be a tall ask. That would make this look like not an upset at all.
No,
that would be the biggest upset ever if they did, to be honest. So yes, there you go, folks. It's not all over in this group. There's lots to go with. Japan have put themselves in a great position, but they've got an awful lot of work still to do.
Yeah.
Ireland, Scotland, both still in this.
Yeah.
Samoa as well. Samoa will look at this and go, if Japan can beat Ireland, why the hell can't we have a go?
Absolutely.
So yeah,
absolutely. There's no reason. The only difference is that Japan has between them is you might even say that Samoa's got more sheer talent, but Japan has got support and backing and time together.
So, yeah, that cohesion, that time together is
cohesion,
fantastic.
that time, the structures behind them, and the money that makes that possible, right?
Yeah.
That's been applied into them. But Samoa are not out of it. They're absolutely not. I mean, Samoa is sitting with one win. This could be the injection of excitement and unpredictability that is exactly what we were hoping this World Cup would do. And we thought that maybe it might come from the group that has Argentina, England, and France in it. But it looks like to be coming out of Pool A.
Yeah, and it's great it's happened now rather than waiting to because we're going to have lots of suspense up to the Japan-Scotland game, but that's the last game of the group stages. By having it now, obviously it breeds excitement earlier. Now, this show has been brought to you by DrivingMaul, so go in the notes below, click on that link to support DrivingMaul, become a supporter of DrivingMaul. Don't forget to, obviously, what's the word I'm looking for? Subscribe and get the bell on as well, folks. It's been great. We're going to go watch South Africa and Namibia now. Thank you so much for joining us for this show. Thank you, everyone who's been in the chat, apart from the troll who got banned. And
I wasn't complaining about him. I was just laughing at his comment.
I didn't see it.
We should be glad that our faces don't look like we played rugby, right?
We're just too beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Good night. And wow, this has been brilliant. We'll probably be back for Wales-Australia, I think. We'll be post-match for that one.
Yeah,
and if Namibia beats South Africa, we'll be back for a post-match of that one as well. But it's unlikely.
Cheers.
Cheers.